Hi, it's Seth from Silver Soul Gaming, and today I'd like to talk about God of War and Red Dead 2, and talk about why God of War actually won Game of the Year, and why it deserves Game of the Year in my opinion. This is a bit more of a chill com. It isn't an extremely well scripted video essay like I've done in the past, and I thought I might just talk to you guys about this. So, why is it that God of War won Game of the Year the same year that Rockstar Games released the game in 2018? Like, that's crazy for Sony Santa Monica to surpass Rockstar and win Game of the Year by almost everywhere that gave out awards. It won Game of the Year, and many people considered it Game of the Year. So why is that? It's crazy because to many people, Red Dead 2 is just as good or better. And I know lots of people that actually didn't like God of War because it's so different from past entries. But I think what makes God of War different is what makes it amazing. When they changed the focus to a narrative instead of the combat of the game, and instead of making it such a hack and slash game, more of a story driven game, I think it really helped reinvent the franchise and bring back a somewhat dead series. With the new combat, it's so much more fun. It's a lot more cleaner than the past games, I felt. It's not buggy, it's not junky, it's very refined, it's pretty much perfect in a lot of ways. I've never found any overpowering or underpowering kind of things in the game. The leveling system is a bit silly to me, but it's an RPG almost kind of game, so I get that. And the narrative is amazing. I think the focus on Kratos struggling to be a dad and how he can't really connect with Atreus was done really well in the game, and it's much more relatable than what Red Dead 2's story was, which is a dying cowboy gang that just can't accept the change of the modern world, which is very understandable, I guess. But God of War has a much more almost realistic story and a much more emotional, well, not so much more emotional, but it's a better written story, which is a bit controversial to say, but I feel God of War was written better. Even though I think Red Dead 2's story is also perfect, I just feel God of War, because it's more relatable, it makes it somewhat better. Which is silly, but it kind of is just done better. And it's a great game, like, especially with the way Sony Santa Monica were able to get the player to somewhat almost feel what Kratos is feeling when he can't quite connect with Atreus. And at the very end of the game, when it's a super emotional scene between Kratos and Atreus, when they're spreading Freya's ashes, Kratos' wife, and Atreus' mother, and they finally have that moment where they connect. It's one of the best scenes I've ever seen in video games. It honestly is. Now, over in Red Dead 2, let's just start off right at the end, or near the end, when Arthur gives the hat to John and he tells him to run. This is if you choose the ending that saved John, I guess, which is the canonical ending. And again, it's a very emotional scene, but I don't know, I felt much more connected to the characters in God of War than I did in Red Dead 2, almost because I knew what was going to happen in Red Dead 2, which is silly because it's a prequel, but unfortunately it kind of brings it back. But Red Dead 2 as a prequel is done perfectly. I think it's probably the best prequel I've ever seen done. There's no retconning, nothing's changed, and it's very great, and it's almost made Red Dead Redemption 1 a better game by having a perfect prequel done so well. Even though we somehow knew what was going to happen to the characters, it's done perfectly. Now, I mean perfectly. I could not find anything different, like anything that just didn't make sense, unlike past prequels have done like Batman Arkham Origins, like I said in my previous video. So yeah, it's like, they're both amazingly written games, okay? Like, writing and story, I think they're both level almost. I would say God of War is maybe that inch above because it's more relatable, but they're both pretty close, I would say. Now, combat-wise, I'm gonna have to give it to God of War. And it's simply because it's a more refined mechanic. The mechanics in the combat of God of War are more refined. I get they are two completely different combat games, kind of, if you know what I mean. Like, Red Dead 2 is obviously more of a third-person shooter, whereas God of War focuses more on melee combat. But I feel still that melee combat is just done to perfection. Like, to just absolute perfection. And Red Dead 2, it's just a little janky. It's a bit chunky. I found the aiming, I still have problems with aiming in that game. It just, I get it also comes down to a sensitivity issue and stuff in the settings, but it needs to still be refined. Which shows Rockstar, it's more refined every game by Rockstar. From GTA 4 straight away to GTA 5, we can see a massive difference in gameplay. And again, with Red Dead to Red Dead 2, we've seen another massive improvement on gameplay, but it's still just not quite there. Which is understandable because Rockstar have not made many games like Sony Santa Monica has, and Cory Balrog, the director of God of War, also made previous God of War games. And yeah, both those games have been in development for the same time, so it's not like there's any difference there. So it's great that both these games came out so perfect as they did. But I believe no game is 10 out of 10. No game is 10 out of 10. Unfortunately, there's no such thing as perfect. But I think God of War comes pretty fucking close to perfect. And yeah, it's just, I think God of War is a better game. I listed off all those reasons before, and it simply almost just comes down to the combat difference. And really, like, I find that the combat in God of War is much more refined, and it's what brings it above to that next level. Graphics wise, between the two games, it's amazing. Red Dead 2 is probably the most ambitious video game I've ever played ever. It's so well done, but it just isn't quite executed with all of those ambitions that it wanted, which I think will be done better in Red Dead 3, which I'm pretty sure we all know will come because Red Dead 2 was the best selling game of 2018. But I think the mechanics in that game are just going to be even better, which I think Red Dead 3, the year it comes out, will win Game of the Year. And the same goes for GTA 6. Rockstar put a lot of effort into those games, but God of War, I don't want to say God of War 2, but the sequel to God of War PS4 will also, I think, win Game of the Year again. But I can't say for certain that it will, but if they can keep that perfection level going in between their games, I think God of War 2 could be something even better than Red Dead Redemption 3 or GTA 6. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. I'm Seth from Silver Cell Gaming. Make sure you go check out our Twitter, our Twitch, all that good stuff. It'll be in the description. Check out my channel, Unknown Gamer. I release more gaming video essays, I guess. I'm gonna have some Let's Plays on over there now, I think, and keep essays focused on here. But anyway guys, thanks for watching. Leave a comment if you agree or disagree and why not. And make sure you guys subscribe. And I'll see you guys next week for another video.